Hey guys, welcome back to YT Classroom. I hope you all are doing good. So, as you can see, today we are solving IGCSE Mathematics 0580, Paper 4, Variant 2 from October November 2023. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to this channel to receive updates on more exciting videos that are going to help you in your studies, especially in your IGCSE. Alright, so let's start with this paper. Let me inform you that this is the most recent paper 4 variant 2, so especially if you're looking onto your Feb March papers, you should really have a look at this video because it has answers to all of these questions. Alright, the first question, I guess it's a translation question something. Okay, so right, translate triangle T by vector -7 and 1. When it is -7, you basically got to move the point left or right. So right means positive and negative value means towards the left. So if you move 7 from here, this is a 2. 2 minus 7 is basically a -5. I prefer this method over actually counting this. You have 6, and if you move this basically 7, it becomes at 1. That's 4. And then you also have this value at 6, which will again move to 1. So it comes up to here. No, I mean, not these points. Okay. Then it says also that you have to move it 1 upwards. When it says upwards, the down value on the vector, that means this value, basically tells you how many units you have to move it up or down. So positive value basically means up. That means move all of these points up. So 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to erase off the old points just to avoid the confusion. And that's your triangle. Just take the ruler, connect those points. Okay. Okay, iPad rulers are really something which is difficult to use, especially for me. But I hope that this video is worth the help to you guys rather than my efforts, really. Okay, I have it here. Obviously, I have to draw a bit more accurately on your papers using a ruler and your sharp pencil. Okay, got this. Yeah, that's there. And it says that label the image as K. We gotta label this as K. Now, it says that describe the single transformation that maps triangle K onto T. So first asked us to create T from K. Now they're asking us how can we get T from K. So again, it's simple. It's a translation. However, now you can see that the vector will basically be the inverse or the opposite. So before it is moving -7, that means 7 units to the left. So now we're going to move 7 units to the right. So you're going to say vector 7 units to the right, and before we were moving 1 unit up, so now we move 1 unit down, -1. All right, so that's going to be the answer. It's only a 1 marker question since this method has already been described to you before. Reflect triangle T in the line y is equals to 4. Now if you take the line y equals to 4, it's basically this line, and so reflection on this line is going to be a pretty easy process. This point, it remains wherever it is. This is 2 points, so again we take this, and this is basically again 2 points, so we take this. Again, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to mark the 90 degrees off here. 90 degrees off here. I'm too bad at drawing this, especially as I don't really have like a good software. Okay, and then this thing, the last of which is basically this part. So that gives you the reflection. So that's counted off. Then enlarge triangle T by the scale factor of -half in the center 0, 0. Now remember, negative basically means in the opposite direction, and half basically means that whatever the length you have, you're going to take the half of that. Label the image as P. Now take the center 0, 0. Okay, let's take this point. Let's say this call a point A. All right. So you have to go 2 units towards the right and 2 units up. So you basically move 1 unit towards the right and 1 unit down. That gives you a point here. Then again, the next point is 6 units, 6 and 2. 6 units towards the right and 2 units up. So 3 units towards the left and 1 unit down because it's 2 units up. The next one is again 6 units, but it's 4 up, 4 units up. So you're going to take the same thing as this, but it's 4, so it's just going to be 2 units. So that gives you the 3 points. Now just got to connect these points. These questions are basically most of the time, they're often the easiest for many students, and especially easy if you want to score higher marks. but just be careful by not writing the wrong method or just messing up on the points. Okay, so this gives you the image. Now what is this called? Label this image as P. Now the next part is describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle P, that means this triangle, onto triangle T, the big triangle which is given in this question. Again, it's going to be enlargement since there's only one enlargement in which the size of the shape changes. So this is going to be enlargement. We're going to take the center as 0, center as the origin. You can write it as 0, 0 or origin. And then the last part of this is basically the when you're describing an enlargement, you need to give your scale factor. Now this won't be negative half. This will basically be negative because it's going to be double the length. Since you've halved it before, it's going to be double it now. But again, in the opposite directions, you give negative. So scale factor is basically -2. You can check that because now if you see this point, it's basically 1 and 2. So opposite direction 2 and 4 gives you point A, and so would be for the corresponding points. Now Daisy records this. She has given us a homework mark along with the frequency. Write down the range. Range simple, 20 mark minus 15 marks. So basically the range is 5. Write down the mode. The mode basically refers to the most commonly occurring mark here, which is the highest frequency, which is 19. So homework mark is 17. Find out the median. Now in the data set of 50, if you take 50 divided by 2, it gives you 25. Now we need to figure out where would 25th value actually lie. So if you see 1 plus 3 gives you 4, 1 plus 3 gives you 4, and 25th isn't going to be near that. Then 4 plus 19 gives us basically 23. 4 plus 19 gives us 23. So again, the 25th value is not lying on that. But when you do 23 plus 11, it gives you 34. So that means the value lies with the homework mark of 18. So that's the median, 18. Otherwise, you can list them down and do the calculation, but again, that's a very lengthy process and you don't want to waste time, especially in a maths paper. Calculate the mean. The mean is going to be a simple calculation. So it basically is the mark into the frequency, 15 into 1 plus, then you add 16 into 3, plus you had 17 into 19, plus you had 18 into 11, plus you had 19 into 10, plus you also had 20 into 6, and the total frequency was basically 50. So you divide this by a score of 50. That gives you, if you take in the calculator, just input this whole thing, 15 into 1 plus 16 into 3 plus 17 into 19 plus 18 into 11 plus 19 into 10 plus 20 into 6 divided by 50, 17.88, which can also be written as 17.88, 17.9 or 17.88, but although I just prefer to have my answers rounded to 3 significant figures. Now this diagram, we have to compare this stem and leaf diagram. So it says that the key 2, 5 represents 25. So basically this is being split up into 2. First of all, we have 18 here, so it's going to be an 8. Then for 2, we have 21, 21, and 21. So there are three ones here. 1, 1, and 1. Oh, my bad. There's a 20 as well. Sorry for that. 0, 1, 1, and 1. We crossed out this. Oh, this seems a bit tedious. So 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. Then we have 22, so 2, and then you have 25, 22, and 25. Okay, then we have 30, then we have 33, and then you have 34. Find the median. Now remember, this is only for 11 tests, so you would need to basically just the simple crossing out method. So once you cross out the values from the side, you basically end up in the center value. So take this, one value out, 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 one value. You should do this with pencil since you have to erase because this is a part of your final answer. So 3, then 1 goes here, 1 goes here, 1 goes here, and 1 goes here. So average mark, now remember you have gotten 1, but the key is 21. So this is going to be 21. Find the interquartile range. Now, in finding the interquartile range, remember that it's 3/4 of the data. So this is only 11, so you have to score basically at least a 12. You can't do the calculation with 11, so you always with the even number. 3/4 of 12th data, 3/4 of 12 is basically 9, and 1/4 of 12 is basically 3. Alright, because yeah. So we want to find what's the 9th data, and it's the same for the 3rd data. 9th data here we have is basically, I'm gonna erase these small ticks off. Take my very small eraser. Yeah. Perfection attained. Alright. Now, in finding the interquartile range, the 3rd data is basically 20 because 1, 2, and 3, so it's going to be 20. Remember reading the values according to the key, and the 9th data, however, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, what? 11, 10, 9. So it's going to be 30. So the interquartile range is 30 minus 20, which is equals to 10. Alright. Now, the next question is question number 3. It says the value of the Prius car decreases by 10% every year. The value today is 7695. Calculate the value after 1 year. Simple 2-marker. Now, if you want to save time in these sorts of questions, just think logically that if the value next year will be decreased by 10 years, it's going to hold 90% of what this year's value is. So if you take 90% of this year's value, 90% of 7695, 90% of 7695 gives you 6925.50. For amounts, it's fair enough to write it as two significant figures because all the amounts generally expressed as two significant figures. Although you could do the other way also, that is basically finding 10% of 7695, which is 769.5, and 7695 minus 769.5, which will give you the same answer. But that's a more lengthy process. Now calculate the value of this car 1 year ago. Now, if you want to calculate the value, basically again, whatever was the value of that car, the 90% of that value is 7695. So we can say that 90% of our x value trying to find is 7695. Alright, so 90x is equals to, I'm taking it here, so 769,500. X is equals to 769,500 divided by 90, which gives you 769. Okay, hold on. 769,500 divided by 90, which is 8550. You can check your answer. First of all, it's a simple insurity because the value should be higher, and second, you can again calculate 90% of 8550 should give you 7695. Now Ali invests $600 at a rate of 2% per year. Calculate the values of Ali's investment. Now often what students get wrong here is that they calculate the simple interest but they forget to add the original amount. When you use the simple interest formula, you're only getting the amount of interest. So I'll doing this calculation with you guys. 600 plus basically 600 into 2 into 5 divided by 100. That gives you 600 plus 600 into 2 into 5 divided by 100. This basically gives me the interest plus 600, which will give me the total value of the investment, which is 660. Next question is that Sarah invests 500 at the rate of R% per year compound interest. At the end of 12 years, the value of Sarah's investment is 601.35 nearest to the cent. To find the value of R. So we have invested 500. 1, since we are earning, it's going to be plus R over 100 raised to 12 is equals to 601.35. Then 1 plus R over 100. If I take the 500 on the division side and I also take the square of basically 12, root on the other side, so that gives me 601.35 divided by 512 here. Now basically you can calculate this value such as, Or you can skip this step by basically writing this whole value instead of writing the decimal figure, which might sound a bit annoying. So 1 plus out of 100 is basically equals to 1.015499,645. It's not necessary to show these values. I do this because it's a good habit in case you want to refer them to this before you answer. R will be 100 into 1.0515499,645 minus 1. That equals 100 into my answer minus 1, which gives me 1.54996, which is equals to 1.55%. So the value of R is basically 1.55. Now remember, you can check your answer by taking the whole value or whatever you got in calculator and just put it in the formula as the value of R. So 1 plus this answer over 100, 12. Indeed, it gives me 601.35. The next question, the mass of a radioactive substance decreases exponentially at the rate of 3% each day. Find the overall percentage decrease at the rate of 10 days. Now, in this question, rather than to complex your heads out, you're just going to do this. Let's say that initially the mass was 100. Alright, then it's decreasing 1 minus 3 over 100 for 10 days. It's for each day, you have 10 days, so 10 days. This will give us how much mass is left. 100, 1 minus 3 over 100 raised to 10 basically gives me the amount of 73.74241269. Alright, now the next question is, this is the left amount. You want to find the percentage decrease. Percentage decrease, original amount minus 73.74241269 over the original amount into 100. Take this amount, 100, no, my bad. So 100 minus my answer value over 100 into 100 is basically 26.257587, which is equals to 26.3%. Find the number of whole days until the mass of the substance is 1/2 of its original amount. Now basically again I'm going to use the same method here. If a substance is decreasing 100, 1 minus 3 over 100 being raised to x is, let's say, 50, because this is the minimum half. So you know that 1 minus 3 over 100, no, if I basically solve this part of this, that is what is, yeah, so just hold up. Yeah, 1 minus 3 over 100 is basically 0.97. So 0.97 being raised to x basically gives me 50 divided by 100, which is again 0.5. So the value of x, I'm using the log. So log, what would you need to raise 0.972 to get 0.5? So if I take this into my calculator, 0.97 to 0.5, it basically x indeed is 22.75657306, which in whole number should be 23 days. Now for this question, I've used log because I've studied this topic in additional maths, and so I'm using my knowledge, and I generally don't prefer any of the methods of especially trial and error, since it takes a lot of time. But obviously if you aren't familiar with log and you haven't learned it all, it's not necessary to learn it for the IGCSE syllabus, but it really helps. And you can still use trial and error if you don't find this method convenient, but I usually use this method. So it's going to be 23, since they're only asking us the number of whole days, so you can mention days as well, although it's math, so really it doesn't matter whether you mention the date or no. Alright, we'll continue with the next question now. This was the last one. Alright guys, so moving on, we have question number 4. Now this question says the diagram shows a sector of a circle that is made into a cone by joining OA into OB. The sector angle is x and the radius is 7.5 cm. The base radius of the cone is 1.5 centimeter. We have to find this angle x. It's a straightforward question. So first of all, you find what's AB. Now AB is basically, since 1.5 is given, we know that AB is the whole circle. So AB is basically equals to pi into 1.5 squared. Now if I do this, pi into 1.5 pi r squared, so pi into 1.5 squared, that basically gives me a value of 9 over 4 pi. This is a pretty long decimal value since I'm writing this, and you could absolutely do that as well, or you could write the decimal value 9 pi r squared, 9 into 4 pi. Now I know that the value of x divided by 360 into 2 into pi into the radius, which is basically 7.5, should be equal to 9 divided by 4 pi. Now when you simplify things, it becomes that 15, 7.5 into 2 is 15, so 15 pi x is equals to 9 over 4 pi into 360 degrees, which is 810 pi. So x basically gives you 810 pi divided by 15 pi, which is equals to 54 degrees. Easy question, and you can get 3 marks without writing the whole of those values. Now the diagram shows a cylinder with a radius of 8 centimeters inside a sphere with a radius of 17 centimeters. So there's a cylinder inside which has a radius of 8 centimeters, and the radius inside is 17 centimeters. Both ends of the cylinder touch the curve, so they're touching here, here, and then here and here. Show that the height of the cylinder is 30 cm. Again, a pretty straightforward question. Not okay, honestly, I'm gonna be honest, this is not a straightforward question, and I had to look at before while working out with you guys. Now if you basically take the center of this and then you draw a right angle triangle that goes exactly into the center of this and touches the edge, and draw a right angle hypotenuse triangle, so this length, whatever the vertical length you have here, is basically your half of the height. Alright, now we're going to use this to basically find out that the height is 2. Alright, now you know that basically, let's say that the radius, this is basically from the center to the edge, so that's going to be 17 centimeters. And you know that basically the cylinder has a radius of 8 centimeters. So what will this be? Using simple Pythagorean theorem, we're going to work out 17 squared minus 8 squared, which gives us square root of 17 squared minus 8 squared. Alright, sorry, 15. Alright, so we know that this is 15, and because this is just the half, so if we take another half, that's also going to be 15. 15 plus 15 is 30. 15 into 2 is equals to 30 cm. Now the next question is a 4-mark question. Okay, serious. Calculate the volume of the cylinder as a percentage of the volume of the sphere. Now the volume of a cylinder is basically the base area into the height. So if I take it as a fraction, because I would do it simply in the calculator. Now the base area is basically, its radius is 7.5. No, radius is 8. Okay, the radius is 8. So pi into 8 squared times the height of the cylinder, which is basically 30 centimeter, which was calculated in the previous question, as a volume of the sphere. The volume of the sphere is basically 4 by 3 into pi into r cubed. The radius of the sphere is basically what is the radius of the sphere? The diagram shows cylinder with a radius 17 centimeters. Okay, so since we know that the cylinder has a radius of 8 centimeters, 8. Okay, inside a sphere with a radius of 17 centimeters. I don't know what I'm missing out here. So 17 cubed into 100. That gives me basically pi into 8 squared. Pi into 8 squared into 30 divided by 4 by 3 into pi into 17 cubed into 100. That gives me 29.3%. 29.3%. Alright, so that's gonna be I'm just announcing it to you guys that I haven't really checked the marking scheme for this paper, so there might be errors in the calculations, and if you think that there's an error, please do comment on below so that we don't actually lead further students into errors. Sorry if there are any errors, but I'm assuming these are correct. The diagram shows a solid sphere with a radius of 6 centimeters. The sphere has a radius of 6 centimeters. 6 centimeters with a side length of 20 inside a cube with a side length of 20 centimeters. The cube contains water only up to depth of 15 centimeters. The sphere is removed. Calculate the new depth of water. Now, in this question, the first thing you're going to do is basically find out the volume of water. The volume of water is going to be the 15 cubed, since it's a cubed, less the volume of the sphere, because that's occupying the space in the water. 4 by 3 into pi into 6 cubed. So that gives you the volume of water. If you figure out this 15 cubed negative 4 by 3 into pi into 6 cubed, it basically gives me 2470.221316. Now this is the volume of water. If you want to basically show it in a cube form, you know that the three lengths would be multiplied, and if the three lengths are multiplied, they must be the same. That means that they are being cubed. So to find the height, the depth, we just cube root this. Cube root 2470.2213 and 16. Cube rooted answer. Cube root answer 13.5 centimeters. By the way, guys, I'm just giving a very important and helpful tip which can save you a lot of time in the exam. So always use that answer key in your calculators, because it avoids you to remember and write up large values. And if you have a lot of values for a question, remember that you can always use the shift recall key or shift STR key as for my calculator to have them saved onto different variables, and then you can see them anytime during the calculation. Alright, the next question. In a shop, the cost of a fiction book is $X and the reference book is X plus $2. The cost of 11 fiction books is same as the cost of 10 reference books. Easy. It's basic algebra. So 11x is equals to 10 of x plus 2. So 11x minus 10x is basically equals to 10 into 2, which is 20. So x is equals to 20. You can check this by applying an answer. So 11 into 20 will be 220. And 20 plus 2 is 22. 10 into 22 is 220. In another shop, the cost of a fiction book is $Y and the cost of a reference book is Y plus $2. Maya spends 95 on the fiction books and 147 on the reference books. She buys a total of 12 books. Show that 6y minus 109y minus 95 is equals to 0. So, if she spent 95 on fiction books and one book cost 95 plus she spent 147 on reference books and one of the reference books costs y plus 2. Because when I do this gives me the quantity, because let's say you buy 10 candies, or you basically, a candy costs $2 and you bought you spent 20, so 20 divided by 2 gives me 10 candies. You basically bought 10 candies. So by this I get the quantity it gives me is 12. Alright, now I just need to add them, cross multiply. 95y plus 95 into 2, 190 plus 147y divided by y squared plus 2y is equals to 12. Then once you do this, 147 plus 95, 242y plus 190 is equals to 12y squared plus 24y. Once it's subtracted, now basically I need to bring it to the other side. So 24 minus 242 gives me negative 218. Okay, so 12y squared negative 218y, by bringing to the other side and subtraction, negative 190 is basically 0. Now remember, I think all of these are basically can be divisible by 2. Once you divide 12 by 2, you get 6y squared. Negative 218 divided by 2 gives me negative 109y. And negative 190 divided by 2 gives me 95y. The pen turned off. Negative 95y. Negative 95, that is. This is equal to the same as shown here. Factorize this. You will need to find two numbers with a sum of basically 109, sum of basically negative 109, and product should be negative 95 into 6, which is basically negative 570. Now what you can negative 570 divided by 2, 285, 285 divided by 3, 190, still no, 4, no, 5, 5 and 114. Yes, so 514, 114 is a difference of 9. So if you basically do negative 114 plus 5 gives you negative 109, and negative 114 into 5 gives you negative 570. So 6y squared minus 114y plus 5y minus 95 is equals to 0. Then I just take it out. So 6y times y, 6y squared minus 114, 19 plus 5 y minus 19. So the answer can be 6y plus 5 and y minus 19 is equals to 0. Alright, so 6y plus 5 and y minus 19 is equals to 0. Find the value. Now either 6y plus 5 is equals to 0. Wait, the price of a book is basically y, so the y value cannot be negative. So 6y is equals to negative 5 and y is equals to negative 5 by 6, which is not like the value. Other value is y minus 19 is 0. So y is equals to 19. That's the only possible here because you can't take a negative value for your cost. So that equals to 19. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Alright, moving on to the next question. This is a questions number 6, which is on trigonometry, and for some reason this question is 7 marks, which is quite possibly the biggest single question in trigonometry. So obviously it's not going to be an easy question, and let's see. The diagram shows a right angle triangle. Find out the value of W. Now remember, you can't simplify because t is a value which is not given and 2t plus 3. First of all, we need to figure out what's t. Take a simple fact, 5 squared plus t squared is equals to 2t plus 3 squared in this right angle triangle and applying Pythagorean theorem. So 5 squared is 25 plus t squared. Now anything squared basically means that 4t squared a squared plus 2ab. So this will basically give me 6t plus 12t plus 9. Alright. Now when I rearrange this, I basically get 4t squared minus t squared, that crosses out this, plus 12t plus 9 minus 25. Alright. 3t squared then plus 12t, 9 minus 25 is basically negative 16 is equals to 0. Now we need to find out the value of t using the quadratic formula. Negative 12 plus minus the square root of 12 squared b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a, 2 times a, which is 3. Now I'll get two values for this. So if I take negative 12 plus the square root of 12 squared minus 3, negative 116 over 3, it's basically equals to 1.055050463, and you have a negative value as well, negative 5.055050463. Alright, the next thing that's going to be that basically if you want to take the value of this, because t is a length, it cannot be negative, so only possible value is this. Now the next part is taking, continuing from here, tan w is equals to the opposite, which is t, 1.0 1.055050463 divided by 5. So obviously w equals tan inverse 1.055050463 divided by 5. Once you do this, you get your answer, tan inverse answer divided by 5. What the hell? Tan inverse of 1.055050463. Okay, yeah, that gives me 11.9, since it's an angle 1 dp, 3 significant figures also, so 11.9. Okay, honestly not that hard for 7 marks if you just put a bit of concentration here and there. Alright, let's move on to the next question. Now the next question is again, I guess, a trigonometry question. So this is question 7, which shows a right angle triangle PQR on a horizontal ground. X is vertically above R, so you can imagine XR being a pole. The angle of elevation of X from P is basically 21. So this is 21 degrees. And the other lengths are mentioned. Calculate the angle of elevation of X from Q. When you say angle of elevation, it should look something like this. Basically this angle. So they're asking you to, so that's going to be tan inverse of opposite is 2.8 with the adjacent, which is 7.1. Tan inverse of opposite is 2.8 over inverse is 7.1, which gives me 21.5 degrees. Another thing is basically find PQ. Now to find PQ, first of all, you need to find what's PR. PR is going to be tan 21. Now tan 21 is basically opposite with the adjacent X. So X is equals to 2.8 divided by tan 21, which is equals to if you do 2.8 divided by tan 21, it gives me, so basically the value is the value of PR is 7.294249381. Then once you have found PR, then you can simply use the quadratic formula again. Now call it quadratic, Pythagorean theorem. So that gives me 7.294 squared plus the 7.1 squared. Okay, question answer squared plus 7.1 squared. Okay, 10.2 meters. 10.2 meters. Okay, find the acute angle KML. This angle, sine rule, sine x over 16.7 is equals to sine 32 over 9.1. So once you do this, you get that x is equals to sine inverse 16.7 into sine 32 by 9.1. So you basically get sine inverse 16.7 into sine 32 76.5 degrees. Show that acute angle BAC is basically equals to 28.4. The area is given. So area is basically, now I know that half into 21.5 into 12.3, half AB into sine x, let's say, is equals to 62.89. So sine x is basically is equals to, if I do this, 62.89 half into 12.5, no, half into 12.3 into 21.5, so x is then sine inverse 62.89 half into 12.3 12.3 into 21.5, that basically gives me 28.400290021, which is equivalent of 28.4. Calculate the length of BC. BC. Okay. If to find BC, you could use the cosine rule. So basically, BC will be equal to square root. Now the cosine rule is basically a squared is equals to, I'm using a, so a is basically equals to square root of b squared plus c squared, 21 plus squared plus 12.3 squared minus 2, 21.5, 12.3 cos of 28.40029,012. So basically it's equivalent of square root of 21.5 squared plus 12.3 squared minus 2, 21.5, 12.3 cos of basically 28.40029,012. 12, that gives me basically 12.17764,935, which is equivalent of 12.2 cm. 12.2 cm. So here guys, we're looking at the second part, that is part C, part 3 for the question, I think question number 6, question number 7. So in that they're asking us to calculate the length of BD, that means the length of this. Alright, so how will we calculate the length of this? First of all, we know that this is 28.4. Alright, and we also know the length of BC, which we calculated in the previous question. So we need to find this angle, which will be using the sine rule, that is sine BCA. So I'm going to keep it as sine x over 12.3, I'm assuming, is equals to sine 28.4 over 12.17764,935. Right, so x is equals to sine inverse 12.3 into sine 28.4 12.17764,935. Once you calculate this, that is sine inverse of basically 12.3 into sine 28.4 12.17764,935. It basically is 28.71171,779. Alright, that's the value of this angle. We have found this angle. We need to find the total of this angle, so that the whole angle ACD, that we can calculate what's BCD. The whole angle is going to be 180 minus 90 plus 28.4, which gives me 180 minus 90 plus 28.4 is basically 61.6. 61.6, we have got this. Now x will be opposite over the hypotenuse, so sine rule, if you're applying opposite and opposite hypotenuse, so SOH, so opposite. So sine 61.6 is equal to the opposite, or the hypotenuse is basically 12.17764,935. So then x will be sine 61.6 into 12.17764,935, which is equals to into 12.17764,935, which is equals to 10.7 centimeters. So the answer is 10.7 centimeters. Alright guys, so here's the next question about the probability. It shows that the diagram says they have two fair dices which are numbered 1 2 2 2 3 6, another one is 2 3 3 4 4. Dice is rolled 1, find out that lands on the number 6. There's only one 6, so 1 by 6. Now it is rolled 150 times, find a number of times it will land on 6. So basically 1 over 6 into 150, which gives us 25 times it's expected to land. Dice A and Dice B are rolled. Find out the probability that the two numbers they land on have a total of 6. Now for this you will need to construct the table, that is for A and for B. Now the values for A are basically 1 2 2 2 3 6. It's not going to be too hard since there are three values the same. So 1 2 2 2 3 6, and the other one you have is basically 2 3 2 3 3 4 4 4. All right, so 2 3 3 4 4 4. All right, now when you draw the lines here, 1 2 3 4 5 sum them up, so 2 plus anything, basically 3 4 4, and then you have 5, just adding them together. All right, just gonna separate this out so that it makes it easy for you guys to look at it. Then add 2 to it, so 2 plus 2 is 4 5 5, and then 6 6 6. Just copy down the same values, 4 5 5 6 6 6 4 5 5 6 6 6. Now 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 3 is 6, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 4 plus 3 is 7 7 7. And obviously if you take the 6 values, it's obviously not going to land on a 6, it's going to land on something greater than that because you don't have 0. But still, I'm just going to do it so that if you guys have any confusion, you can avoid it right now rather than actually taking it forward. Now in this, you can see that there are approximately 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and 11. So 11 out of 36 have the total probability they could land on a total 11 out of 36 total outcomes. Now the two numbers that when their total of 6, both numbers are 3. So 11 out of 36 is, you should have it into the both numbers should have a total of 6. The both numbers, so basically they're only both numbers are 3. That's basically this possibility. That is basically you have 2 3s on one side, you have 1 3 on another side. So I guess it should be 1 by 6 into, no, hold up, 11 over 36 into 1 over 6 into 2 over 6 plus 2 over 6 into 1 over 6. Yes, so it's gonna be if I take the brackets here, 1 over 6 into 2 over 6 plus 2 over 6 into 1 over 6, which is basically 11 over 324. 11 over 324. Now it says that dice B has been rolled n number of times. The probability that the nth roll it first lands on the number 3 is basically 729. So when we roll a dice number of dice, the dice B n times, the probability that it on the nth roll it lands, it is the first time it land on the number 3. So in the previous rolls it has not landed on the number 3, is 32 over 729. How many 3s does it have? It basically has 2 3s. So 4 out of the 6 numbers, basically 4 out of 6. Okay, so on 4 out of 6 you have raised this to x, because now raised this to n actually, since you do not know how many times it would occur, into the 2 out of 6 is basically 32 over 729. Why I've done this is basically at the last one we want a number 3, but till that we don't want a number 3, although we don't know when, how many times will that take. So 4 over 6 raised to n is basically going to be 32 over 729 divided by 2 over 6. Right, I've just taken this to the other side. That gives me 32 over 243. N will then simply be log 4 over 6, 32 over 243. Log 4 over 6 into 32 over 243, which gives me 5. That means on after 5 rolls, for 5 rolls you won't get the number 3, but on the 6th roll you will get the number 3 on the nth roll. So we need to do 5 plus 1, which is basically 6. Now you can check it out. Basically 4 by 6 being raised to 6, or actually 5, because then this one gets an additional 6. So 2 by 6 is basically 32 over 720. You can also do with the 4 by 6 into 4 by 6 into 4 by 6 into 4 by 6 into 4 by 6, no, into 4 by into 2 by 6. Hold up, into 4 by 6. That's just for checking the whether like your answer is actually correct or no. Into 2 by 6 gives us 32. So for 5 tries, you're going to get the probability of getting the number on 5 tries is 4/6. That means you're not going to get a 3. But on the last try, the probability is 2/6, which is gives you 32 over 729. So 5 tries, no 3, and the last try, you'll get a 3, which is 2 over 6, and 6 tries. Alright guys, now we'll be looking at question number 9, which says a diagram shows a sketch of a graph which has the equation of 4x cubed minus x to the raised to 4. The graph shows the x-axis at the point origin, x-axis at the point origin, and at the point A. The diagram B is the maximum point. Differentiate this. When you differentiate, you basically got to bring this power to this side and multiply them. So 3 minus 4 is 12. 3 into 4 is 12. And when you bring it, you just need to reduce the 3 by 1. So 12x squared minus, when you bring 4 here, so it becomes 4x raised to 3. 12x squared minus 4x raised to 3. Now find the coordinates of B. It basically says that if you have to find the coordinates of B is the maximum point or the turning point where the gradient is likely to be 0. So now we know that 12x squared minus 4x squared, because when you have the differentiation, you put the x values, it will give you the gradient at that x value. 4x cubed is basically 0. That means basically if I can figure out 4x squared 3 minus x, because 4x squared into 3 would 12x squared, and 4x squared into x would be 4x cubed is equals to 0. So either 4x squared is equals to 0. In that case, x squared is equals to 0. That is, x is equals to 0. Alright, other possible value is that 3 minus x is 0. So x is basically 3, because 3 minus 3 would be 0. So x is 3, and we can't take the value of x as 0, as we know that b is not at 0, b is at this point. So the value of x is basically 3. Now if I take the original equation back here, that would be 4 times 3 cubed minus 3 being raised to 4. 4 times 3 cubed minus 3 raised to 4, which is 27. I'll just check that once again. So 3 being raised to 4 is basically 27. That gives me 3 and 27. I use this equation to get the y value. Find the gradient of the graph at the point A. At the point A, we know that basically the y value is 0. So 4x cubed minus x4 is basically equals to 0. Now if this is equals to 0, we need to find out at what values are equal to 0. So basically it's going to be that x3 4 minus x is equals to 0, because 4x3, yeah, that's correct. So if x raised to 3 is equals to 0, then x is 0, which is one value at which the y will be 0 and x will be 0. Another value is that 4 minus x is 0, so x is equals to 4. We know that this can be equals to 4. So now we want to find the gradient at what point x is equals to 4. Just take a differentiation one. So 12 times 4 squared minus 4 cubed. 12 times 4 squared minus 4 cubed. That seems a bit surprising. So 12, okay, of course the gradient, if I do 12 times 4 squared minus 4 times 4 cubed. Okay, that's correct. That gives me negative 64. We know this is actually to be true because at point A the graph is downwards, so it will have a negative gradient, negative 64. Let me check my answer for the previous one, which says find the coordinates of B. So first you saw the gradient will be 0, you found the x values, and finally you found the y values, and then the part C, what we did was we found that at point A the y values would be 0. So in the original equation we equated it to 0 and found the x values, and then we found the corresponding y values for that, which is corresponding gradient for that point, which is negative 64. In this case, it is a regular hexagon where diagonals. The triangle DEF would be to DCB, and triangle DAF, no, not BAF, DAF is corresponding to triangle D, my bad, DAB. So DAF to DAB and DEF to DCB. Okay, in this triangle, OP is basically equals to OQ because they are the radii. You can see that this and these both are radii, so they are equal. Angle OPT is equals to OQT, which is OQT, which is 90 because tangents are perpendicular to radius. Tangents are perpendicular to radius. Once you have figured that out, angle OPT and angle OQT are, now we know one of these angles, and we also know that this is same and this is same, right? But then we know that this angle is basically going to be 50-50, and if this angle is the same, then this angle will also be the same, right? Which is angle O, which is being separated to equally. So then we can say that they're equally using the criterion of let's say side, angle, and side. Oh well, why we didn't need to figure that out. Okay, we know. Alright. There was one more confusion here. That is, this is being shared, right? So that gives us that this is like, if you take this angle side OP. Where'd that go? Sorry for that. Yeah, here. So basically, POT is equal to QOT. So QO and PO are equal, and then angle O is shared, and then OT is also shared, a common sign. So they are being ASA, not ASA, SAS. Side, angle, side. One side, you took the angle in common between, and then again you took the side. OT is being shared, and PO is equals to OQ. This proves that tangent TP and TQ are equal in length. Basically, tangents from the same point are always equal in length. Alright, let's move on to the next question. I hope this question is clear to you guys. Alright guys, so now we're looking at question number 11, which is about functions. So let's start. There are three functions given, which is f of x, g of x, and h of x. It says find g of 3. G of 3 is basically going to be 3 minus 1 squared, which is equivalent of 2 squared, which is 4. Alright, so this one becomes 4. Then find f of x minus 2. If it says f of x minus 2, you basically got to replace this thing, x minus 2, with x. So this will be equivalent to 1 minus 3 x minus 2, 1 minus 3x, 3 into 2 is basically 6, 7 minus 3x, 7 minus 3x. Find f inverse of x. For f inverse of x, we basically do it this way. So y is equals to 1 minus 3x, then x is equals to 1 minus 3y. Now we got to basically rearrange this equation for y. So we take the 3y on the other side. So 3y plus x is equals to 1. 3y is equals to 1 minus x. Y is equals to 1 minus x divided by 3. 1 minus x divided by 3. Gf of x minus gx of x is equals to 3x cubed plus x squared plus bx plus c. Find the value of each of them. Now what's gf of x? So basically g should be outside. Okay, now 1 minus 3x minus 1 squared. 1 minus 3x minus 1 squared. So yeah, 1 minus 3x minus 1 squared, because that's g, and in the value of g of x, you're basically putting the value of 1 minus 3x minus 1 squared minus what you actually put is basically gx, x minus 1 squared, times f of x, which is basically 1 minus 3x. Okay, so now as you can see that when you basically can Simplify it, 1 and 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, so cancelled out. Negative 3x squared is going to be squared to 9x squared. Remember that only we're showing the x. Minus, now this one we have to do the internal one first. So x minus 1 squared will be basically x squared minus 2x plus 1 times 1 minus 3x. Alright, now this will basically equal to 9x squared minus x squared into 1 is x squared. X squared into negative 3 is basically negative 3x cubed, negative 2x plus 6x squared. Then I have 1, and then I have negative 3x. Now remember there's a negative symbol on the outside, so it will be 9x squared minus x squared plus 3x squared, 3x cubed plus 2x, negative 6x squared, negative 1 plus 3x. When I rearrange this, I get basically the 3x cubed, that's the first term. Now 9x squared minus 6x squared is basically 3x squared. No, okay, there's one more, my bad. So no, there's one more, 3x squared minus x squared, so it's going to be 2x squared. Add 2x squared. Alright, and then you have 2x plus 3x, which is 5x, and you also have negative 1. So I'm getting it in the same format, 3x cubed plus, so a is 3, b is 5, and c is basically negative 1. Now you can check your answer by basically just putting this whole calculation in your calculator, and just apply any value of x, possibly like let's say 2, x minus 1 squared, 1 minus 3x, 199.25, okay, and 3x cubed plus 3x squared plus 5x minus 1. There seems to be a mistake there. Alright, 3x cubed plus 3x squared plus 5x plus 1. Now, I'm guessing that's correct. If you guys see that there's a problem in this question, please do comment down below. But I'm just explaining you what I did here. So basically I did 1 minus 3x, and because that's what here it says, minus 1 squared, minus I did x minus 1 squared, that's basically the value of g of x, minus 1 minus 3x. Alright, so when I do 1 minus 3x minus 1, it gives me negative 3x squared, which is 9x squared, minus x squared, negative 1x, negative x squared, negative 2. Okay, have I made a mistake here? I'm kind of a bit confused. X minus 1 squared, 0.36 x squared, negative 2x plus 1. No, that's correct. 9.5 is 0.36. Okay, that indeed is correct. And then I have 1 minus 3x. When I multiply them both, I get x squared, basically, and then I have negative 3x cubed. Then I had negative 2x. Then I have 6x squared. Then I had 1, and then I have negative 3x. When I put them here, 9x squared, negative x squared, plus 3x cubed, plus 2x, minus 6x. Basically, I'm reversing the signs here. And then minus 1. And then also I have positive 3x. That gives me 3x cubed plus 3x squared plus 5x, 3x cubed plus 3x squared. Yeah, because, oh, so 9x squared minus 6x squared is 3x squared. 3x squared minus x squared is basically 2x squared. Now this is where I've made an error. I'm so sorry for that. Plus 5x minus 1. And now I have checked my answer. I'm probably gonna get it right. Yeah, that's right. So it's the value of basically a is 5. That would have costed me a mark. I'm really sorry for this, and I hope that this helps you understand the importance of checking your answers once you're done, since it's basically math and it's very easy to get messed up with the answers. All right, the next part is, all right, why isn't this moving? Okay, yeah, find h of x minus f of x. H of x is basically 3 over x. So we have to take 3 over x, subtraction with 1 minus 3x. 1 minus 3x I'm just putting it as a division of 1 because when you're dividing fractions, you need a common denominator. Now, you know that I have to bring the second denominator, that's this denominator, to x. So it's going to be 3 over x. Multiply this with x, so the top number also becomes multiplied. That gives me x minus 3x squared. When I again do the subtraction, so 3 minus x, because I'm applying the negative sign to the x minus 6 squared, so it becomes minus x plus 3x squared divided by x. If you want to write it in the proper term, 3x squared plus minus x plus 3 divided by x. So that gives me 3x squared minus x plus 3 divided by x. Alright, I want to check my answer here again. 1 minus 3x divided by 1, 77 over 10. So 3x squared minus x plus 3. That's correct. Now it says that h of x of n is equals to 3x raised to 7. Now as we write that h of x is basically 3 over x. So you are telling me that 3 over x raised to n is basically 3x raised to 7. Alright, now here one important point is that you can move this fraction x n to the upward by basically giving n a negative value. So 3x raised to negative n is equals to 3x raised to 7, since 3x and 3x are same. So now we know that negative n is equals to 7, so n is equals to negative 7. Pretty straightforward question. That's why I'm just giving you 1 mark here, negative 7. Now, okay, this is a question from vectors, and I'm guessing this is the last question in the paper. There's an origin point given. There's a A point, which is 8, 1, and there's B, which is 2, 5. Write the column vector OB. So if you want to move from O to B, you would basically move, since B is here where the points are 8, 1. So it's 8 here and 1 here. You would move 1 to the right and then 8 up. So basically, no, you would actually, I'm sorry for that. Okay, that's what the point, if point B is basically 2, 5, so you move 2 steps here, 2 steps and 5 steps up, 5 steps up. All right, 5 steps. So 2 steps to the right and 5 steps upwards from the origin, 2 and 5. AB, now basically A is at 8 on x and B is 2. So 8 minus 2, you will, if you want to get from 8 to 2, you need to subtract 6, and it's at A is at 1 and B is at 5, so you will need to add 4. That gives you this vector. Find the equation of the line AB. Whenever there are 2 points here, I'm finding the equation of the line, you will just need to find the gradient first. Gradient is basically y2 minus y1, y5 over 1 over 2 minus 8. 5 over 1 over 2 minus 8. That gives me negative 2 over 3. Okay. Now once I have this gradient, I'm gonna do one more thing, that is, I know that my equation is basically that y is equals to mx plus c. So the y value, let's say I'm taking as the point B. So 5 is equals to negative 2 over 3 times the x plus c. So now 5 is basically equal to negative 2 over 3 times 2, negative 4 over 3 plus c. C is basically equals to 5 plus 4 by 3, which is equals to 5 plus 4 by 3, which is 19 over 3. Alright, so the equation is basically negative 2 over 3x plus 19 over 3. Now find the equation of the perpendicular bisector. Perpendicular bisector, 2 important properties to apply. The first is that the gradient of this should be perpendicular to the gradient of the line AB. And second is that it should pass through the center. Now for the gradient, that is m, it's basically going to be negative reciprocal. Negative 2 by 3. Negative, basically it's going to be, hold up, 1 divided by negative 2 by 3. Yeah, so to find the gradient, it will basically be negative 1 divided by negative 2 by 3, which is 3 by 2. What we're doing is we're flipping it, and if it's negative, it becomes positive. It becomes positive, negative reciprocal, 3 by 2x. Alright, now if you want to find the midpoint of AB, the midpoint of the line AB, it equals to the x1 plus x2, 8 plus 2 divided by 2, so 8 plus 2 divided by 2, because this is the a point x value and this is the b point x value, comma, the other points that we have is basically here, that is 1 and 5. So 1 plus 5 divided by 2. This gives me 8 plus 2 is 10, divided by 2 is 5, comma 1 plus 5 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. 5 and 3. So now I need that basically 3 is equals to 3 by 2 times 5 plus c. So 3 is equals to 3 by 2 times 5, 15 over 2 plus c. C is equals to 3 minus 15 over 2, negative 4.5. So I'll just check that then, whether 3 by 2 5 minus 4.5, yes, it does give 3. So the equation is basically 3.2 is 3 over 2 is basically 1.5x, negative 4 over 5. Alright, so now moving on to the next question. It says that the line AB meets the y-axis at P and the perpendicular bisector of AB meets the y-axis at Q. Find the length of PQ. So what they're telling us that here we have two equations. So these both lines meet the y-axis at the points P and Q respectively. This meets at P and this meets at Q. So you're supposed to find the length of basically find the points P and Q and what's going to be the length of them. Now if it meets the y-axis, we know that the value of x is 0. And if the value of x is 0, let's say even in this equation, I'm going to zoom in this equation, if you put x as 0, your negative 2 by 3 multiplied by 0 gives 0. So the only value you have is 19 over 3. So the value of P is 0, comma 19 over 3. Another point is basically the value of Q, which is again going to be the same. 1.5 into 0 is 0, so it's going to be negative 4.5. So 0 times negative 4.5. Alright. Now you have to find the length of these both points. So the square root of x1 plus x2 squared. Okay. So let me just check this. 0. All right. So now we basically need to use our length formula that is in a quadratic, basically in our thing. I'm getting a math error in my calculator. Okay, there seems to be an error. I just need 1 minute, guys. Okay, have we got this correct? That is basically the perpendicular bisector of AB meets the y-axis at Q. So now we know both of the points, which is 0, 19 and 3, comma 0 times negative 0 and negative 4.5. So the x points are basically, this is kind of using the Pythagorean theorem. So if you use your top one of the values, so I'm sorry, the value that is square root of 0 squared times 0 minus 0 squared and a squared, then again you do b squared, which is basically 19 over 3 minus 4.5 squared. That gives me 10.8. all right. So how I'm gonna write that is basically 0 minus 0 squared plus 19 over 3 minus 4.5 squared. All right, 4.5 squared, which is giving me 10.8. So that's going to be the length of basically 10.8. Alright, I'm assuming that this is the last question of this paper, so I hope you guys have really liked my video, and I hope that this paper is useful for you and it has provided you with many solutions for questions you're confused with. If you have liked the video, please make sure to drop a like, and if you found any errors or suggestions on this paper, please comment down below. Also, I would love to have your recommendations on what paper to have next so that I can help you guys best, especially for the upcoming Feb, March and May, June series. Till then, thank you, take care, and best of luck.